me talk about how to actually send your map out, get it out there, so it's like digestible and people can actually play on it and all this good stuff. Because it's not something that is just like laid out like simply. I'm just actually going through, I'm actually subscribing to my latest map, which is so cool when it's on the repository because when I release an update, right, it automatically updates on the end user's side. So, um, whatever version they're on should be the latest one I've updated. They don't have to do anything. Um, so I'm just downloading it here. So one thing about the repository is every upload has to be under 500 megabytes. And if you're working on a map, that means that in a lot of the folders you have to um, make your JSON entries path to the original game directory, right? So you can't have a whole bunch of materials in your level folder that is taking up space. For example, a 4K texture, one 4K texture could be 5 to 10 megabytes. If you have a bunch, like that's a color map. If you have a normal map that's the same, like that's going to be another 5 to 10 megabytes. So you add that in and you have a bunch of different objects that have all these different material textures, 4K, that can really start eating into your 500 megabyte allotment quickly. So let me just give you my rundown, and it's the full nally, hopefully. So, so these are the folders I use for quick reference. This guy I just have like as a general master backup folder. This guy is my main level backup. So what I do is I take all of the zipped files that are in the official game directory and I basically unzip them and I just put them in here. So you'll see small island levels, small island. If I want to do anything with that, I need to remove the first small island levels and just have it as small island and then data. So this is just my main like big backup folder that I have all my big map zips unzipped into. Hope that makes sense. I'm just trying to give you a breakdown of what I go to when I'm like messing around. So levels, this is my app data levels folder. Let me just put that right here. We're going to talk about that. This is my, basically it's the same thing as if I went into here and just click the main root of there. So if I go to main root of my app data local BeamNG Drive 0.34 and click levels, that essentially will get me to the previous shortcut. So what I do is I actually have a root shortcut just for quick access sake. That's all it's for. So I like going to latest, and inside latest I have this little mods folder right here, and that is important because that is the only way I've ever been able to get my mods to work. So let me go to my fourth shortcut, which is actually my game directory installation. So this is my main game directory installation, and note at default there's no mods folder that I can see. Maybe there was, but I've tried putting a mods folder in here and nothing I ever do will ever get my map to work inside of this directory anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's in levels, and obviously you don't want to put it in levels right here, content levels. Yeah, do not install mods here. It's for a reason. You don't want to deal with that, but I never can get it to work in this directory, right? So I only use this directory for missions. That'll be in my gameplay. I'm not going to go into that, but this directory I do have as a shortcut, but it's for some things. I'm not going to mention them. But anyway, I just want to mention what it's going to take to like pack your actual map. So let me just close the main game directory. So all I'm looking really is in app data. So, like I said before, if I look at like any generic map, like Hitoshi Raceway, see how it goes levels, that, and then data? If I want to use this in levels, I really want to cut this right to levels. So now, when I'm messing around, I'm only affecting what's happening here. It's going to override the main official zip, which is in here, content, levels. So it's going to override the original file, and it won't load this. It'll only load what's here because the file name matches what's here. It looks here first, and then if that does not exist, it says let me look here, you know what I mean, and then you can see it in free roam, etc. Just for the sake of argument, if you want to edit a level in World Editor, you really want to be in this direction where everything is launched from a single folder, main level map name with data inside. You don't want to have it like this. You don't want to have it with the original structure. Like if I just went, automation test track, see how it has levels like that. If I just pasted that, copy, this is not going to appear. You won't see it. So that's kind of important to note. The folder structure is dependent on where you're putting it. So it brings me kind of, I guess, to my next point. So after this is copied to my levels folder, this does not appear, right? But if I did zip this, zip it, where is it? Zip. So if I zip that and I paste it into my mods folder, then it'll work. So if I let that finish and then copy it or cut it, if I cut this and pasted it right here, in theory, this would run this level name, right? But I'm not going to run a level that is the same name as something that's in my main root directory. We're always going to want to change the name very first thing, right? So I just wanted to kind of overview that and kind of hopefully shed some light on why that is. But so if I go back, I'm going to cut that and put that back into where was it? Right here. I'm just going to delete it. I don't need it. It was just an example. But anytime I run it from here in this levels folder, I'm going to just delete that. So this is the format it needs to be in. I'm going to delete that too. So we're going to use this as an example to kind of show you how to pack stuff, how to get it to be in a format that will be accepted in all directions. So let's go forward with that. So here's what I'm going to be working in. I am just going to be focused, dead focused on this little guy. So you have your level folder and everything works. The map works. You go into it, you see the structure, everything's renamed. You edit with Notepad. That's figure 8 test, etc. All the things I've talked about kind of already. Everything is pathed correctly to your map level folder. But all it is map level folder data, right? And your goal is to share it with people, right? So yeah, there's a couple ways to go about that. So the first way I'm going to mention is you could just give it to them as a zip file, manually zip it, and say install it in your app data local BeamNG Drive 3.4 levels as map name data with nothing before it. It's just levels, the map name data. So that's the first way. And I did that for a very long time. I did that on Modland for a while. But I'll be honest with the things I've said and how the repository works, it's really not optimal. There's a lot of manual overhead involved, and that's not the way to do it. So let me show you the other way you would want to do it, which is getting it to where it can just show up in their mods folder. So the mods folder right here, this is your mods folder. So you have a couple sections in here, right? So if I wanted to be fancy and I just took the level and I zipped it, I want to show you why that does not work and what I actually do. So if I just say add to zip, we're going to zip it. Now what you're going to see is you're going to see a repeating root directory folder at some point here. So I'm going to figure 8 test, figure 8 test. It's not supposed to say figure 8 test. This should say levels. Instead, now I'm looking at that, right? So in a lot of cases, if you just manually zip it, the structure is not accurate. Now, let me just do a quick fix. Let me delete that. Let me go ahead and create a new folder. Let me just open up a new clean sheet here. I'm going to copy this here, paste. So figure 8 test data. So if I wanted to say get it in the structure it needs to be, I would be like paste, so levels figure 8 test. So now if I do new folder, figure 8 test, enter, move that levels into there. So now I have figure 8 test, levels, figure 8 test, data. So that's the structure you would like to have for it to go into your mods folder. But if I zip that, I'm just showing the issue right at this point. This is not the way to do it. This is the problem way to do it. Problematic. So you understand the problem before you can understand the solution. So I look at figure 8 test. I go into it. It says figure 8 test. That should say levels. Okay. That should say levels. Instead, I get another entry in the directory, and now it says levels. So you ask yourself, how do I actually pack this map to share it with other players on the universe? So let me go ahead and go. I'm going to delete this. Let me delete this. Close that. Let me show you the correct way to actually do this through the game so you can actually get the correct structure to be able to A, put it in your mods folder, and B, upload it to the repository, assuming it's under 500 megabytes. Discuss backing it up. It's real quick. Nothing to really talk about, but if you have this and this, you have this entire structure with this, you could literally copy this and just paste it anywhere. Paste it on a flash drive, Google Drive, send it to a friend, and they can actually put it in their local level folder, and it will show up in game. Now, the other thing to note is this info.json. I kind of briefly touched on this. I don't think I talked about this. Is auxiliary. If that is set to true, they will have to check the debug auxiliary options on the bottom right corner in the free roam menu. If that is set to false, it will just show up normally in their free roam list. So that's very important to note. If you're trying to make a map for somebody, the is auxiliary needs to be false for them to see it normally without having to do extra steps to see it. I'm actually going to cut it in this case. So here's where we're going to go. We're going to go to my main mods folder, which is actually an app data. Latest mods. So I'm looking for this unpacked folder. If I go in there and paste it, it's cool. It's in there. It's in there as unpacked. Figure 8 test levels, figure 8 tests. We got the data. So unpacked, baby. All I need is to go right here in repository. I'm going to look for it. What I want to do is I actually want to pack it first. See how it says right here, Speed Island? Click it. Oh, wait, that's my subscription, sorry. Crap, I got unsubscribed from that. And then I can pack it. See how it says the path, mods, unpacked? It should show you the correct path. That's why it's important when I'm working on these. I only have one instance of that copy of the folder in my directories. I like to have them all open to make sure nothing else is overriding, because if something else already exists somewhere, it might actually launch that first as opposed to what you want. So that could help you alleviate. But anyway, the path is this unpacked figure 8 test with the levels figure 8 test. So I'm going to pack it. It takes a minute, so let me just cut, and I'll come back when it's done. You have to walk away sometimes. And you can see the spinning cursor has finished, so I have a zip file. Now, there's probably a way to zip this manually using 7-zip by going through the settings and making it do certain things, but I don't want to mess around with that because the ability to do it is quick and it's already available in game. So I see no reason to discuss how to use 7-zip in any other way, besides zipping and unzipping. That's all I use 7-zip for. So this is already zipped. So let me actually move this out of the way. I'm actually going to close the game. So I'm going to close the game. So now, unpacked folder is actually empty. And the folder is actually sitting right here. So this is my raster copy, my master copy. I'm going to cut this and actually paste it on my desktop. So I can actually distribute this, believe it or not, as is. So if I copy this, I want to put this in my mods folder. Wait, yeah, well that's where it was anyways. It puts it in the mods folder, but if you don't have it in your mods folder and you paste it in your mods folder, now we have the ability to actually see the game, and it'll show up in free roam. I removed from repository. So that's the one coming from the mods folder. The one thing I want to end on this video is the difference between what happens when you see it here. So if I open it, it's levels. Notice the difference? So levels, figure 8 test, data. When I use WinZip to do it, I got a duplicate root folder, and that's not optimal for what you need it to do. So that's very important. It's kind of important to just make sure you put it in your unpacked folder with the map, levels, map, data format, and then you can pack it in game. That gives you the root copy of whatever you can distribute that version. So before I wrap it up, I just want to briefly run over what you have to do if you want to continue working on your map. So let's say you have this file, it's packed correctly, you uploaded it, it's great, everybody's playing on it, but you need to continue updating it because you need to fix some things and re-upload it to the repository. So let me kind of just reverse the process so you can basically continue working on it, and I'm going to show you the right way to do that. So let me just show you a couple things before we do that. So I just want to look at this. So if I go in there, you can see it has the levels, and then inside levels it's that with the data, right? So there's 4 folders essentially. Let me close that. So if I am in the game, right? I'm in the game. It's launching it from this location in my mods folder. There's nothing in my levels folder relating to that anymore. If I'm in the game and I go, let's say I duplicate this, I move some stuff around, I do stuff, whatever, and then I hit Control S. Let's see what it does here. So now what I have, see how there's kind of this image in my levels folder? If I go in there, it does not have all of the changed data. All it really has is, well, all this has is the changed data, I guess you could say. Whereas, so if I'm working on a map, I don't want to work on it from the zip format. I hope that explains that. Now let me show you something else here. So I'm just going to delete this out of the levels, and I'm going to keep this here. Let me go back to the main menu here. F11 to get out of the world editor. So if I'm in the main menu, I'm going to go to my repository, mods manager. So you can see my level right here. You can see it's reporting it's in the zip format in the mods folder, right? So that's this guy. So if I unpack it, the unpack is pretty quick. If you unpack it, what it's going to do is it's going to put an unpacked non-zipped format version. And this isn't the way I like to work. Now, in theory, you would think to yourself, I can just cut this out and I can put this into my levels folder and everything will be great, right? No, that's actually not what you want to do. I've had problems with it like that. I've had problems where the game simply just hangs when launching. So that's not the correct way to do it. But the correct way to do it is actually just to simply unzip the, let me delete this. So if I have nothing in there, oh, so see the zip file is actually gone. So let me just go like this. So let me just pretend that I didn't unpack it. So this is before I unpacked it, and I'm just going to do an unzip, extract files. So this will get me to a point where now I have the ability to now continue working on it. Um, when I unpack, I just use 7-zip. I don't like unpacking via the game because of the problems I just mentioned. So I can just go in here. If I go cut, paste, restart my game, unpacked version. Let's see, restart. All right, so back in the game, as you can see in my levels, it's just figure 8 tests with the data. So now if I move stuff around, I duplicate or whatever, and then Control S, and now it's going to save everything inside of this folder. So every change you just made now will be retained. So in that previous example, if I just deleted what was in the levels and restarted the map, you know, uh, my changes won't be saved. So that's why you want to work, um, via this method. I hope that kind of explains it. Um, Now another thing, if you're in the main menu and you unpack it, um, you can still access the game, but it's just another case of where if you make a change, it's going to put a little bit in levels, and then it's going to have the rest will be in your unpacked folder. So, uh, and then if I want to say share this again, I made all my changes, and I wanted to share that. All I have to do is just the same process as before. Make a new folder, call it levels. Put figure 8 test in there. So now it's like that, and then just make a new main folder, and then put the levels in there. And then we're going to cut that, and I put that into my unpacked folder. So if I delete that for now, so I would put this right here. So now it's in unpacked, like that. Now I can go to the game and pack it, and then you can share it. When you pack it, it'll put it right here automatically. All right, see you later.